All right, and we are live. So this is Sean. What's the name of the show?
This is Art and Stuff, episode 2.5.
And
I'm
we say
Sean
two,
Ahrendt.
and I'm Joe M. Sonntag. But we say 2.5 because this is our second time recording this broadcast, and we'll see if this time it takes. So fingers crossed, people. oh, so Sean, what are we here to talk about tonight, my
Talk
friends?
about the image boom, the image experience, the seven creators. Just like back in 1992, the NBA All-Star Dream Team, equivalent to comic book artists.
Yeah,
Started in 92, Lucas is 92. You had your Jordan, you had your Magic, you had your Bird, and you had the equivalent to that in image. You had your Rob Liefeld, Jim Lees, your Todd McFarlane, your Mark Silvestri, Will Patasio, Eric Larson, and Jim Valentino.
that's a
And they
perfect
were,
analogy for
yeah,
that.
that's what I
Perfect
think.
analogy, dude. Like you nailed it spot on there. I mean, those were the top names in the industry at that point, and their books were selling like crazy. The art was amazing.
It was exciting.
I mean, those are the reasons why I got into comics. Honestly, I got into comics when I was 8 years old,
Hmm.
7 or 8 or something. Like I had always known about comic books, but it wasn't until I met this childhood friend of mine who actually introduced me into what comics were, and then he
Right,
introduced me to Jim Lee's art, and after
right.
that, I think that pretty much changed my life. And after that, I mean, Jim was like my favorite artist for a long time, like the first part of my venture into being an artist myself.
Yeah, I can
Jim
see
was the
that.
man, you know. Jim, that was the guy I studied after and bought all this material. And when he went to Image, I was a little bit behind the curve. Like he had already gone to Image, and I was still like trying to collect all his Marvel stuff, you know.
Right, right.
So by the time I actually got to Image books, I mean, I was just blown away by the art that they were producing at that time and how edgy it was, you know.
Yeah,
And it's cool because it was like Marvel, but turned up to like 11. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? You know, with like a little bit more violence, blood, you know, the sex and the sexuality of the characters. You know,
Yeah,
for
the panel layout, the panel layouts are more extreme, to use a word, if you will.
pun
Well,
intended.
yeah, it wasn't as cookie color as like the 5 panel grid, or they were doing some phenomenal stuff in their page layouts as it was.
Hmm.
Uh, Hold on, I'm sorry. We have a guest for next week that is just hitting me up now,
Oh, okay.
thinking it's for today. So I'll get back to him after the show.
Yeah,
But
that would
it
be
is
fun.
what it,
That
yeah,
would be
it
fun.
is what it is. Yeah,
That'll be our
but no,
first guess. We'll see how that goes.
yeah, yeah,
Fingers
we'll
crossed.
make it happen. We'll make it happen. But I
Yes,
did tell him
sir.
the correct date in the messages, so that's
Okay.
not on me. But anyway, back to like the panel layouts. As exciting as they were at the time, they were even better at the image. From Wildcats one, from Youngblood one, Spawn one, all of them were doing different designy panels like that brought it to the next level.
You know what's awesome about Image is because it was an artist-based movement. And granted, some of the stories, and they'll even say that some of the stories in the early Image weren't the greatest, but
Hmm.
what drew you to them was the art. And if you look at the later books of, let's say, X-Men, we'll just use Jim Lee as an example right now. Look at the later books of X-Men that he was doing with Claremont writing, and then look at like the first couple issues of Wildcats. What I loved is you saw what Jim Lee's page layout and everything was looking like, but it was always bogged down by like tons of script, you know, because Claremont was very wordy, you know, and there was like
Hmm.
tons of small panels.
Very
When you
dense.
look at the Image books, what I saw in those early books was absolute freedom, and I saw that in the way that they laid out the pages and the way that the art flowed. It was just guys that finally had the handcuffs taken off, and they were just running free. And all
Hmm.
those original 7 books that they put out, all the number ones. I mean, I've gone back and I've read almost all of them time and time again, and that's the first thing I noticed from page 1 to page 22, or how many ever pages were in those books, was just ultimate freedom, and they shined in that aspect, creating beautiful, time-lasting art.
Facts. Hard facts.
Hell yeah.
No, but what was your first Image book that you got?
Honestly, dude, I was racking my brain about this the other day, and I really think it was the first one that I actually bought was Wildcats 4.
Oh, it was a good book.
Yeah, and I was at I want to say I was at a Meijer, which in Michigan we have Meijers. I don't know if you guys have Meijers where you're at. I think it's kind of more of a regional store, but it's like a Walmart,
Okay.
But they had in the old spinner racks. And I remember because I was just understanding what Image was at the time. Like I was still very heavy collecting my X-Men books that Jim Lee was doing. And so I was starting to understand what Image was, because at the time, I didn't really have the internet to find these things out. I was just
It wasn't there.
Right. I was just going blindly, So to me, the current comics were the ones that I was looking at. So once I realized that the brand new ones that were coming out, that changed a lot. But I was going by the spinner rack, and they had like, your normal Marvel and DC comics, but there was an Image comic, and right off the bat, I could tell it was Jim's art. That cover with Warblade, and he's got Grifter and
yeah.
is Voodoo on it? Is Grifter and Voodoo or Zealot?
Zealot and Spartan.
I can't remember, but Warblade's got that really cool stance where his hands are like all elongated and stuff. And I picked it up and it was in a bag. And I don't know if they all came in bags that early, but this one was in a bag and it came with a card. And so I bought it with my own money, because I had a little bit allowance back then. I bought it with my own money, and that was the first book that I read. And the way that book opens up with, I think it's got that big picture of Hellspawn.
Yeah.
And he's standing triumphant over everybody. Yeah, it's just like, at that point, man, you want to talk about a life-changing moment when you're looking at a comic book. That was it. Because I was so into Jim's art in X-Men, and then I saw this, and it was like a totally another level. And it was over after that. I was all Image on board after I jumped into it, and I just took off running, started getting all the other books. Oh man, what a fun time! That was such a fun time.
Yeah.
Just thinking back, man.
My first one was actually Shadowhawk 1, because everything else was sold out like gangbusters. And like I come from a comic book family, in the sense that my dad has been collecting comic books since he was a kid back in the Bronx. So I would go to Manhattan with him, and we would go to comic shops and like Jim Hanley's, I think it's called, but like some underground shit to some 3-story shit. Like comic books is like in my DNA. Like before I knew like Martin Luther King Jr. had a dream, I knew a great power came great responsibility.
Right? Yeah. There you go.
So
there you go.
But he wasn't collecting Image, but he got me into the books because he had an extra copy of New Mutants '88, and on that cover was the Blob, and then it was Pyro laid out, and there was this G.I. Joe Terminator looking guy. I'm like, this looks awesome, and it was Rob's pencils and Todd's inks. And that's what got me hooked on them. But fast forward to, he wasn't really into that because it wasn't his shit. It was just, he was just a collector. So everything was sold out up until this point, and I was at a local convention with my brother-in-law Bruce. Shout out to him. And the guy had Wild Shadowhawk 1. I'm like, oh, this looks cool. It's for $5. Then I looked at it. I'm like, this doesn't look very good. So I tried to return it.
It's all black, and it's got like the silver.
Yeah.
Face mask. Yeah, I've got. Yep.
But it was cool.
You tried to return it?
I tried to return it. I was like, this is kind of boring, but it looks cool. I'm sorry, whatever. I like Shadowhawk, but
he's a cool character.
Yeah, cool character. But anyway, the next one I got, it was the day before my birthday. I picked up Wildcats 1 off the shelf. And then on my birthday itself, my dad got me Spawn 1, 2, and 3.
Oh man.
And then
Nice.
4 came out the following Friday because this is when comic books came out Fridays back in
Oh
'92.
yeah. Jeez.
Yeah. So
Crazy.
it was that. Yeah. But I wanted Youngblood, but they were just so expensive.
Yeah.
And I didn't get number 1, 2, and 3 up until the June or July, no, July, end of June of 1993 in a Walmart in Florida. They had like 1, 2, 3, and 4 in like one of those plastic containers, like you could buy them all at once.
Yep.
That's how I got my first
No
ones.
shit.
And I had to wait a long time. Like I would look through Bruce's because he had gotten them, but whatever. I might have looked at them more than I should have. But
Yeah, right.
no. And then it was, onto like Savage Dragon and
Oh man.
Cyberforce and Brigade and Supreme and all of that. And mostly the Extreme Universe.
So, see if I remember correctly here. In chronological order, came out with Youngblood first.
Yeah, Youngblood was first.
And then we had Spawn came out.
In June, yes.
And then was it Savage Dragon after that? Or was it Wildcats?
No, I think it was Dragon first.
Okay, that's what I thought. Because I think Wildcats. It's something. It's this is one I got signed by Jim.
Oh, nice. Right on.
Yeah. And then, underrated, it took me a while to get into this book, but Cyberforce came out by...
Oh, that was great. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, I loved it. It took me a second to get into Mark because I was so into Jim and Rob for a long time that it took me a second to take the next step into some of the other artists. And I found Mark, man, I got into Cyberforce huge after that.
Yeah.
Put this there. Ah, shoot.
Losing it. Those are 8.2s now.
I know. But you want to talk about how hard they were to get the number ones. Just like you, man. I probably didn't get a number 1 for years. Like it took me years to get because like you said, they were so damn expensive.
Yeah. And so, I only had so much of an allowance,
Yeah, right. And you're not going to convince your mom to drop $20, $40 on a number 1 because those things got skyrocketed up. I mean, at least my comic book store jacked the prices up on those.
Yeah.
I mean, you had to spend a small fortune if you wanted to get Spawn 1 through 4. Like 5 was the cheapest. When you wanted to go far back to get a back issue, 5 was the cheapest. It was like shit.
You remember spending $5 on a back issue, just like a random back issue, like whole 283. All right, it's like here.
Oh yeah.
Those are fun days. Now it's like $5 for something new. Get out of town.
Yeah.
Isn't that good?
Sometimes it's like $7 on some of the shit.
Yeah.
I mean,
and then the paper comes off on your fingers. Well, the print at least. You're like, this is trash.
They've been like cutting corners and like taking a step back in book quality over the last few years. Some of the books I pick up, I'm like, what is this shit? Like I'm used to fucking nice paper stock, and now it's like first they're gonna give us shitty art. No offense to the artists out there, but you're gonna give us shitty art, you're gonna give us a shitty story, and then you're gonna give us shitty paper. Literally shitty paper.
Yeah.
Wipe your ass with it.
It's trash.
But back in the day, Image, I love the fact that they're so damn competitive and they wanted to have the best quality of everything. So they had some great quality books. I mean, the paper was great, the cover stock was awesome.
Well, the jumpstart from what they're using with with Malibu, which is fine quality paper, from like let's say like Youngblood 1 to Youngblood 4 when it was glossy computer, when Kiko took into the colors and all that. Like that was only like what, from less than a year, like that's crazy. That's a crazy jump. The price point went up a bit, but I was good with it because I was getting better quality and it looked better. Like it looked shinier and brighter.
I mean, dude, I go into my comic book shop and the Image section is where I would go first. That's probably where I would stay for the entire time I was there. There was a few
Yeah.
things during that time I would read of Marvel and DC, more so Marvel because I wasn't a huge fan of DC unless I was when Superman got killed and Batman got his back broken. Those were like the only times I like ventured into DC. Marvel, I still like some of the artists. Actually, Marvel still had a lot of good artists that
Yeah.
stuck around. I mean, Marvel still had good '90s artists, but Image, man, uh, it makes me sad. It makes me sad when I think about it, and I think about today's Image rack in my local comic book shop.
I don't even know it's
No,
there. I don't look.
no
You
offense to
know,
any of the creators. I'm
they're not
glad.
watching us.
Yeah, they don't give a shit about this. But yeah, man, it's just when you walked in there and you saw like Youngblood, Wildcats, Spawn, The Darkness,
Yo.
Witchblade,
Yeah.
fuck, Ascension, Savage Dragon, Pit, when Pit came out. Um Prophet,
Yeah.
name the characters and books, dude.
Yeah.
I think I took it for granted because I thought that was gonna be around forever.
Oh,
And looking
sure.
back, I mean, man, I would just have a little bit of that back now. Just that creativity. There was energy when you would walk into a store and look at those books, and you could see, the passion that were going into those books. I don't care if the stories were less than somebody considers epic storytelling nowadays with their
Look,
2020
it
revisionist
might not have
history.
been fucking Shakespeare, but you know what? As an 11-year-old, I don't care. Like,
Hmm.
I'm coming from watching like anime and like
Yeah, right.
80s cartoons. Like, that's what I wanted. And you know what? I still want that. Give me a good
Oh,
story. The
absolutely.
stories are fine. They
Yeah.
might have not been worded properly or sophisticated or where I needed to have my pinky up when I drank my tea, but I don't need that now. I'm an
Dude,
honest guy.
I'll go back and I'll read the original uh miniseries of the creators.
Yeah.
And it's good. It's good. There's nothing there that leaves me desiring for the story.
Hmm.
I mean, it's good characters, great art. The story moves you along and goes from A to B. That's all I really need out of a comic book. I don't
Pretty
need,
much.
as much as I admire art or writers like Scott Snyder and guys that can really put mysteries and twists and turns on stuff. I don't need that out of every single comic book.
Right.
Nowadays you get like these writer
Say it.
snobs.
Say it. Say it.
I mean, you get these writer snobs out there, these keyboard warriors that want to go back over everything, and if it doesn't meet like today's standard of some fucking lame ass comic book, then it was horrible art, or it was a
Right.
horrible
Right.
book,
Right.
you know. And it's just like, God, you just missed the point of a comic book, in my opinion. It's
The the
a visual
escapism.
medium. Yeah,
Yeah.
escapism for the 15-20 minutes it takes to read a book. If you're actually really reading and looking at the pictures and everything. I mean,
Yeah.
God, yeah, nowadays, fucking lame, man. Pisses me off.
You
Just,
know what I
oh,
say? This is when you know that we're old. We're saying kids don't understand. Back in my day, the music.
yeah.
When my cousins would
Ugh,
tell me about the music they were into when I
no.
was and like I'm like, you guys are trash. Wu Tang's awesome. And now like I go to my little kids, I'm like, little who? Like you guys need to listen to Tupac, you know.
Yeah.
And now it's
Yep.
like the kids are running the halls, and it's like in my day it was done better. I may have not have done it yet, but I got buddies that did do it, and they did it a lot better than you guys are doing it now. You know.
Yeah, that is a was it tall tale sign that we're getting a little older. Besides the gray.
Ugh. or, or the baldness, but 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 like also like all right. So I'm gonna fast forward a bit. When
Yeah, yeah.
Jim Lee went to do Darker Image and then Death Blow 1 and 2,
Mm-hmm.
then he came back to Wildcats #5 because his
Mm,
art was great, was really good in Wildcats 1 to 4. It was like
yeah.
X-Men, a little bit up, but it was kind of getting. You could tell it was a little stale. You're probably gonna look at me crazy saying it was stale looking. It was just
Yeah,
kind of. But hear me out. It was
let's
awesome.
go
Don't get
for
me
it.
wrong.
Yeah, go
But when
for
he
it.
came, back and he kind of did experimentation on Death Blow and like he swiped Frank Miller.
Oh
Like
yeah.
it
I
was
mean, he
like
even
a
says he did.
fresh. Yeah, of course. It was like a fresh breath there. He came back with that 5-page spread.
Yeah.
More hatching, more experimental. Look, I love the miniseries, but I think 5 and up kind of was
Oh
was
yeah.
kind of like Jordan hitting a 3 at buzzer beater.
His art was, you could definitely tell he was experimenting in during that stage because he was all X-Men style in issue 1 through 4, no doubt. And
Yeah.
and you're completely right. Death Blow hit and it came back, and you could tell issues 5 through 12 when he stopped drawing the series full time. Those those 7 issues, you could see different things that he was trying. In fact, towards the end of that, I actually thought he was cleaning up his art. Some of the cross hatching was starting to go away. He was getting a little cleaner with his stuff, and that would only continue.
Brett Booth had a hand on some of those later issues.
Like,
Finishing pencils and stuff.
oh, really?
Like the Huntsman, with like whatever that was, like 11 to 12.
Yeah,
He
with
had a hand
Claremont,
in his feet.
or came
Yeah,
on board and wrote his story.
Claremont was on for that. But no, you
Oh,
can tell it was a little stylistically. I just found it out today. I listened to an interview Brett Booth just did. It's on YouTube. Look at
I'm
part
about to
3
check
of
it
it.
out.
It's 3-part episodes.
Is it a new interview?
20 minutes from like March, like
Oh,
March
maybe I
25th or
haven't heard
so.
it. Oh, I'll have to check it
Yeah.
out.
But
But it's
anyway,
funny.
go.
I was gonna say it's funny you brought up issue 5 because I was just on Jimmy Reyes' live stream earlier. I was inking a cover to my comic book Reaper Destroyer. There, quick plug. And
Okay.
I brought up the fact that I was talking about Wildcats 5 specifically because that was like the first time I ever saw anybody have a 4-page
Yeah.
pull out, and not just like
Yeah.
once, not just like twice, but I want to say like 4 times. Is just pull out after pull out. It's just like, and it was beautiful, and it
Yeah.
was. You're right. Stylistically, it was still Jim Lee, but it was just like the next level Jim Lee.
There was
You know,
more of an artsy funk to it, with his hatching and Scott Williams, of course, and
oh
has a
man,
huge
yeah,
hand in that. You
yeah,
can't deny Scott
absolutely,
Williams. Like it's like again another basketball analogy: Jordan, Pippen, Jim and Scott. And I'm not saying Jim Lee's Michael Jordan because I don't think there's a real Michael Jordan comic book artist. Maybe Neil Adams. I don't know. I digress. But like you could see, like that was a great team. That just enhanced each other.
yeah. Yeah. So that brings me to a question.
And then,
What image creator for you was a big influence on your career as an artist slash creator and motivating you to want to do this kind of work? Because I know you and I are both driven by like images and the stuff that kind of pushed us forward into our venture into all of it.
I definitely say Rob,
Yeah.
and not to because he's a friend of mine, not to blow my own ego or whatever.
No, yeah,
Because he was
absolutely.
so young. Because he was so young doing it, compared to the other guys. Like he was only 19 when he broke in. He has the Kirby esqueness, if that's a fucking word, of the
We'll make it a,
characters. Because all right, cool. It's our show. Do what we want.
there it is.
Like even though everybody made their own characters and whatever, like they stuck out more for me. They're the ones where I'm working on a character now, and everybody that I've shown is like, that's extreme, and I'm like, you know what it is, and
It is.
I'm
It really is.
yeah, well, like I originally drew him up in like 2000, and then everybody saw the original was like, that's extreme, and then when I showed them the newer version of what I'm working on, like extreme, and I'm like, yeah, like that's the school I come from,
Yeah.
like that's what it is in a nutshell, from the body armor, from the way I choose weapons or just characters, or it's Rob. And everybody else there's little touches here and there. Don't get me wrong. Like as my not opinions, but my taste changed to different guys because like
Yeah.
Benitez is my favorite out of all of the Image rookies. Well, Brett Booth, but Murat Michaels. I can't pick,
Michael
but you know what
Turner.
I mean. Like
And we'll
Michael
get there in
Turner.
a second. We'll
We'll get
talk
there.
about them in a second.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. But not definitely Extreme because Extreme was also the first one I saw on like TV.
Oh yeah.
Mario Lopez did a show. It's
Yeah.
like you could be whatever kid and be on TV, and this kid chose to go to Extreme Studios. But to see that at like age 11 or 12, whatever I was, that kind of made it more real because they were always in the Wizards or the Heroes or the fan magazines, but just to
Yeah.
see it like on screen kind of made it more legit for me. And then here's a funny story. So I became a diabetic back in like 95. So I was like 13. And normally I would have been like, oh, boo hoo to the world. But I'm an opportunist. I wrote a letter to make a wish. I wrote a letter to make a wish of how I wanted to go to my wish to get flown out to Extreme Studios in California. I wrote the letter. I gave it to my doctor. He's like, that's not how it works. I'm like, but I'm a diabetic. Like, it's in the shit. Nah. Apparently, being a diabetic, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's like diseasism or what have you.
It's a good try though.
Like, yeah, that's where diseasism. Yeah,
Disease
hey,
of
I'm an opportunist, so yeah, that's the lengths I would go to meet my heroes.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I just thought it was real.
Uh,
Now, what about you? Who did you picture yourself next to? Who's your boss?
you know, it's I've got a multiple answer here because I never just got one and just wrote it the entire way. So I have a two-part answer. First, I'm going to say Jim Lee right off the bat because at the time he was a major influence
Okay,
on me. I love the X-Men, and I loved the
sure,
Wildstorm universe,
sure.
right? And then I got into Rob with
Fun stuff,
Youngblood.
fun stuff for
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, I got into his stuff hard, and then I became really big into
Hmm.
Extreme, like you were talking about, and I was all about Extreme. Eventually, I got into Top Cow, and when I got into Top Cow and I got into Mark Silvestri specifically, I would say that was probably the image creator that has had the most long-lasting influence on me as an artist creator myself. And even today, when I was on Jimmy's stream, everyone was saying like, it looks a lot like Silvestri inspired, or it looks like, like Top Cow. And like you just said with your character, Extreme,
And I
my
told you this
character
plenty of times.
looks
Yeah,
like Top Cow,
yeah,
So I
yeah,
mean, it's awesome that
yeah.
you use that analogy because
It's like a
that's
light bulb,
exactly
like a light bulb
yeah
went in your head when you saw it.
yep so it's
It just clicked for
so
you. That's I guess what it is.
and I would so I'd definitely say Silvestri, um, and even back in the '90s when Silvestri was drawing more like Jim Lee than himself, he still had his because if you look at his work in like Uncanny and Wolverine, and then look at his stuff in Cyberforce for the first
Yeah.
15 issues. I can't remember how many issues he did of that book. He did more of that book than I think the Jim did of Wildcats. Because I think Sylvester stayed on Cyberforce for maybe like 20 some odd issues. I'd have to look back through my collection again. But I want to say it got pretty deep. But you look at the evolution of his work, and he was doing a little bit of his impressions of Jim Lee there for a while. But it was still Mark. And Mark had this really sleek style. He drew things a little bit different, a little bit edgier, if that makes sense. What I loved
Raw.
about Mark, what I still love about Mark's work is instead of let's say you're drawing, maybe like a shoulder or a bicep or something, instead of just having like a nice smooth bicep, it would be like, there'd be like these lines, like there'd be a sharp point in
Yeah.
some aspects, and there was just something about that visually that really appealed to me, and I put a lot of that into my art. And so, yeah, hands down, I would say, as much as I flirted with Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld, probably Mark Silvestri would be the biggest influence on me over the years.
Reservation gave you the hand job under the tables. What were you trying to say?
Fuck yeah, he did, and it was awesome.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. But yeah, no, like he definitely took a. You're getting old, Joe. He took a big step in like issue 7. We'll break it up. I'm sorry.
Okay, sorry. We good? Can you hear me? Oh no!
I think we're breaking up. Don't worry. No, I'm just gonna keep talking. You keep talking.
Okay, keep talking.
But I can hear you. It's just kind of like. All right. So like no, like issues like 7 to like 13 was a high peak for Silvestri because like he just kind of like kicked in new gear. Like I remember looking at this one cover of Cyblade, where she's just kind of like this on a fucking dragon. I'm like, holy hell, she's hot.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're good.
All right.
You kind of froze.
Yeah, that issue
You're
was awesome.
Don't worry about it.
That issue was awesome,
Yeah.
man. And that I must have looked at that issue like a million times. Because one, yeah, she's hot as fuck. But that dragon was fucking badass. The entire issue was drawn, and the colors. Was that man? I can't remember if that's Furcal or if it was Lick. Was it Furcal? Furcal, however you pronounce it.
Yeah,
I think when he came on board with him and Weems,
it was Fur. Not
yeah, with him and Weems and Silvestri.
Weems is my favorite inker.
Yeah, he was so good.
Team.
I mean, you got your Scott Williams,
yeah,
but Weems is like right up there, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, he has a great. Oh, yes, I totally agree. He's got a great texture, a great flick to the line. Like it's not like a bullet line that like J. Scott Campbell and Gardner would do. Like this is kind of like flick with like a chisel to it, which I love.
Yeah.
Which Jimmy has a great chisel. Jimmy Reyes has a great chisel tool in his digital inking package on Gumroad. Go buy it. Sometimes it's cheap. But anyway, yeah.
Cheap
so
plug.
like aesthetically, I love cheap plug, but I love Joe Williams. He's still doing shit now. Like he just did like a Predator Alien commission, and I'm just looking at like why can't Facebook have better pixel resolution? Because I want to see this.
Yeah, he's a really good artist too, and that something I've noticed about
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say something I've noticed about a lot of inkers. The good inkers are also good artists. Did you lose me?
Yeah. They're not just tracers.
Bitch.
No. The good inkers are the good artists.
Yeah.
They're good. Like Scott Williams is a great illustrator. Noah Rapping.
Yeah.
Good illustrator, solid illustrator. You know. Danny Mickey. You know, good illustrator.
Oh, Mickey.
You gotta know the techniques and all that, I guess.
Yeah, Weems, Matt Banning, all those guys, they can actually really draw too. They made their money as inkers, but they can really draw, and that only helps out when you're going to be doing finishing over a really good artist or great artist.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say, hopefully my stream.
Who are some of your favorite colorists?
Colorists?
Yeah, because like I think Kiko is the best from is my favorite colorist ever.
I'm gonna feel bad because I can't think of it right offhand. So let me look while we were talking about that. Current colors, that's a different story. But back in the day, Joe.
Was it? I don't want to talk about. Yeah, I don't care about them. I'm talking about like.
Right. Yeah. But Joe. Yeah, I can never pronounce his last name.
Yeah.
For the longest time, I loved that dude's work in the 90s. Let me see. What are we talking about? Oh, yeah. So, like, because he did, like, did Pit and everything. And I love,
yeah.
He did a lot of the early Image books, didn't he? Maybe not. I can't remember.
Yeah, because he was part of Homage.
Okay, he was one of my favorite colorists for a long time, and then I also liked Furcal, like we were talking about.
Hmm. Yeah, he's good.
Liquid,
Yeah, he's
Liquid
amazing.
was awesome.
They
Uh,
they brought they remixed the game. Like what they did, like
yeah,
like there was
yeah,
times where there was such contrast and whatever that I will go blind looking at a book, like some issues of
yeah.
Soul Calibur or like
Oh man, Soul
is it
Calibur.
Eve?
Fuck.
Eve Pro Mecha or some shit? Yeah, yeah. What else? Even Owl Chasers. There's some scenes in it where I'm like, this is great.
Yeah, they had
But
again.
Kiko Takanashi, I think it's Takanashi is probably my favorite of them all.
Yeah, I would say that's another thing that Image had a leg up on the competition. They had some fantastic inkers, fantastic colors, and their art was just off the chart. Speaking of off the chart, so Image did a really good job of finding new talent. And in the
Yeah.
90s, they found a ton of new talent. What was, just give me your top five of the guys that were discovered by Image in the 90s, if you
Okay,
can make a
so
top five.
Murat Michaels is well, I think it's a 6, so we're going for 6.
That works.
Murat Michaels, the original Image. Yeah, it's our show. You know, we break barriers. Murat Michaels, the first Image rookie. J. Scott Campbell, Brett Booth,
Mhm.
Dave Finch, Michael Turner, and Joe Benitez, who was a huge. Did I just say that? Huge, a huge inspiration on me. Like his from his darkness stuff is untouchable. Joe Weems, untouchable.
Yeah, no, he did a great
What about
job
you?
following it. Well, all of them. I mean, I don't think I could. I would put. I really liked Dan Fraga when he came on board, and he changed his style throughout the years. But I liked him because he reminded
Mm-hmm.
me so much of Rob when he first came on board with like Bloodstrike and everything. But if you want to just talk about some of
Mm-hmm.
the guys that came on the scene and just skyrocketed to the top, Brett Booth was probably my first favorite of the rookies. I fell in love with that guy's art.
Okay, I can see that.
And J. Scott Campbell, of course, when Gen 13, when that ongoing series hit, the first like 5 to 7 issues of that ongoing series, amazing art. I mean, everything amazing art, colors, inks. Alex Garner and him
Yeah.
as a art team together just knocked it out of the park. I've got a video on my YouTube channel going over Gen 13 issue 2 because that to me there was just something about that book with the colors, just everything put together. There was a giant jump.
Yeah,
Remember with that
yeah,
big
yeah,
green
yeah.
villain and it's got that awesome color of Caitlin Fairchild's just like ass and legs. And then you got like that bad guy's like in between
Yeah.
her legs.
Oh, I,
So like I mean, just
oh,
the cover's awesome. Uh, but just the jump
yeah.
in quality of art that you saw from guys like Booth, Campbell, Finch, like all these guys over a period of a year was huge. And these guys became legitimate
Yeah, within a
superstars
year or so.
very
Yeah,
quickly.
yeah, yeah.
In
Legends,
fact, I would say,
in
in
my
fact,
book.
the first, oh, absolutely. And the first issue where I really got into Brett Booth was Backlash 2, issue 2, when the Savage Dragon was guest
Oh,
starring.
Dragon?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
because I was a huge fan at the time of Eric Larson and I loved the Savage Dragon as a character. So I saw him in Backlash 2. I was like, I'm gonna buy this just because of the characters in it. And then
Mm-hmm.
when I'm flipping through it, I was like, man, this art is awesome. It reminds me a lot of Jim Lee. I'm like, look, who is this dude? It was Brett Booth. And then from that point on, I just started anytime I'd see Brett Booth's work, I just pick it up. And from that point to
Yeah.
the time he started doing like did he do Kindred after Backlash or before? He did that before Backlash, didn't he? Kindred.
I believe Kindred was before Backlash.
Okay.
The first one, at least. But the
By
second
the
one came out
time,
like 2001 or 2002.
okay, maybe that's what I was thinking of. But by the time he got to like Backlash, Spider-Man, and Wildcore, I mean, he was just
Yeah.
my favorite artist for a while. I mean, he was just taking
Yeah.
what all the legends before him had done, in my opinion, the legends, the Image founders,
Yeah.
and just building on that and just running. Like somebody handed him the football, and he just ran through the hole, man, knocking people down left and right. So
Yeah.
he was my biggest first rookie that I really got into.
Sure. See, I think there was the preview issue of Wildcore, which is tits, pure tits.
Yeah.
And then from like issue 1, he kind of elongated his characters. They were
Hmm.
getting longer and thinner. And
Yeah.
I don't know if it was Tom Queenie, the inker, that was doing more of a thicker border around them. So that was a stylistic change from there
Yeah.
to
Yep.
like 2000, mid 2000s. Because he was doing it on the X-Men stuff. The border wasn't as much then as it was in Wildcore, but then he got away with it. And I remember being like, man, he's one guy I wish we could see like doing the daily, like doing the regular monthly books. Because he would just do sporadic shit from time to time. I don't know the case. Like he did that Alita, that vampire book. And while
Oh,
she was pretty, it just
yeah.
wasn't
And as much as I love,
Blake. Blake's. I got him over there. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah, I've got a couple of those issues. It was just I love the art, but I just didn't get into the story of it. You know, it just wasn't really
Mm.
in my wheelhouse. But by the time he got to DC,
Right.
he went up to a different level when he hit DC,
Dusty the
man.
Cobwebs.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
his work
Like
on.
his stuff, I definitely reference.
Oh yeah, yep. I mean, especially nowadays because he. It's interesting because when you talk about a artist who has had a career for almost 20 years, and to say that that guy in his
Yeah.
what would you say 94 to was it 94 when he was kind of started coming around like getting a name
93.
93. All right, 93 to
Okay,
2020.
94. So getting a name.
Yeah, right, around there. A guy that's been in the industry that long, and at this point, he is on top of his game. Like he is ascending. He hasn't plateaued, and he's not going down.
He's the best in the biz.
Hell yeah, he is. I've said that a couple times now, and I'll say that without reservation. That Brett Booth right now is the best in the business, hands down.
Yeah.
I'll buy
Like for
anything that
like
he
the monthly
does.
schedule. Yeah, for the monthly issue or whatever you want to phrase it, like he's the best. He's the
Yeah,
one that I'll go out to get a book. Like I got bloodshot because of him in the Delso.
I
And
know,
like
right? Well, yeah, that's a great combination right there.
Valiant's fine.
I mean,
Yeah, that's
let's
crazy.
say
Like
what it is, man.
Adelso Corona brought.
I was just say let's just say how it is. Valiant sucks, in my opinion. I hate, and I even I
Well,
tweeted I tweeted at Brett Booth, and I told him I was like, this will be the first time I have ever bought a Valiant book in my life, with the exception of the Deathmate crossover. But that was for the Image guys. But it was because
yeah.
Brett Booth was drawing. He could have drawn any of Valiant's characters. I didn't give a shit. It wasn't because of Bloodshot that I was checking it out. It's because Booth was
You drawn a
drawing
phone book for all I care.
it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I mean, no offense to Valiant. I've just never been a big Valiant fan.
Nah, they're
And
fine.
I
You
doubt they're
got
ever
like
going to ask me to work for them. So whatever. It doesn't matter.
like aesthetically, I think Ninjak looks cool. But I like the movie. What is it? Bat in the Sun. It was like a YouTube movie. I thought that was entertaining.
Oh, I don't think I've ever
But
seen
no,
it.
let's not talk. We're not here for Valiant because
Oh yeah. What are we doing? What are we doing?
I'll send you the link.
Jeez.
But let's go. Let's go. What are we doing? But let's go back to what 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 did you get out of each artist in your design and storytelling? Like I know you went over Mark and all that, but like is there something from like Todd that you'll use, whatever it be like Saga Black or Eric with his 3 grid layouts or whatever the fuck he's doing these days?
Actually, as far as storytelling and page layout, I've always held 3 people that really influenced me, and that's Jim, Greg Capullo, and Brett Booth, and Mark to an extent. But I could just never
Mm-hmm.
capture Mark's layout style. But what I liked about Jim and especially Greg was how much they moved the camera around. And Greg especially would put the camera in the weirdest spots. And it's, definitely now in his later career, but that really kind of opened my eyes when you're talking about like storytelling and where you can kind of set the scene up and where you can put the camera. You could be in the dingy alley, excuse me, in Spawn, and the main focus of a panel is the foreground is like the face of a rat, right? And then all the main characters are
Yeah.
way out here, but there's just something really awesome about that. It's like you're never gonna see this rat again, but he's just like up in your face, looking nasty,
No.
gnarly,
Yeah.
and then spawns out way over here. It's just stuff like that. I've always tried to incorporate, but you got to be able to do it right. That takes experience. That's something.
Or the reflection of a ring. Like the
Yeah.
reflection of a ring. Like it's a
Yep.
ring. I don't like they're distorted, you know? It's like,
Yeah.
wow, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
He
Like
did some
I
he
would
did
have
some
thought of
amazing
that.
things. Yeah, he did some amazing things with that stuff. So I'd say that those 3 guys, specifically aesthetically, layout
Hmm.
wise, have been a big influence of mine artistically over the years. What about you?
Yeah, I go with those guys. Uh, I like Booth, how he breaks them, and it's kind of like coming at you in your face. Like if it's like the equivalent, I'm so stupid. The equivalent of like old dirty bastards, like yo 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 yo, you know, like that's because that's what it is. That's how he does his. So
Yeah, yeah, uh,
so
I agree.
I don't think that's ever been explained like that before.
No, it hasn't. That's the first time I think I've experienced that.
But
But
yeah, nice.
uh,
I'm glad I can compare Brett Booth to Old Dirty Bastard. That's how you know I'm from the East Coast.
yeah,
That's where
yep.
we could compare it to anything to Wu Tang Clan.
That and you're
Like
like,
Wu Tang, I'm here for the teach children.
I say that and your accent is pretty noticeable. Hence the name of
Yeah.
our show.
Uh,
Ah, 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 and
and
stuff.
stuff. I
You
like how
gotta
you're
get
trying to pronounce it. You're like, it's like a phlegm.
ah, hot, and stuff.
Yeah.
I'll get it one
It's
of these
like
days.
Grace, she died 30 years ago. The blessing. I'm sorry.
The blessing. Oh my god. Uh,
But okay,
all right.
what's a weak image book from that era, in your opinion? It could be anything. It doesn't matter. It could be a single issue. It could be a series or what the fuck. What's one book where you're like, didn't really live up to my hype?
Uh, probably probably Shadowhawk. I mean, it's just no
Yeah,
offense to Jim Valentino or anything, but compared to the other books that were coming out at the time,
yeah.
it just seemed on a little bit lower of a level than, say,
He's a
Wildcats or
solid illustrator.
yeah. I mean, yeah,
Yeah, but it
absolutely.
wasn't as fun as the other. Solid illustrator, very well storyteller. Just
Good
in
writer.
my personal opinion, before nobody tweets him, really good writer. Really good writer. His
Yeah.
stories were very, very entertaining. But artistically, it just wasn't, compared to the other dudes, which is fine, but that it sold a lot of copies, and I
Oh yeah.
bought them, so it has
I've got
fun,
my fair share of Shadowhawk
but
books
it was
too.
the weaker of. Mhm, mhm,
I'm
mhm.
trying to think if there was an. I
I
mean,
liked when other
because,
people drew them, but
well, yeah, it, there was. There were other books too that weren't as strong that were released, and I'm trying to think offhand because every time I think of a book, I'm just like, oh no, that wasn't that bad. But I'll say the original
that's pretty cool.
Supreme was kind of weak to me, even though I had it.
By Brian Murphy.
Yeah, like the first, it was
Yeah,
just it
yeah, I
was
can
all
see
right,
that.
you know. But Supreme got cool when other artists drew it, especially Rob, when
Yeah,
yeah, Beep, when he was drawing, doing some Supreme stuff. I really like that. And there was, remember Supreme Madness? Remember that storyline?
what is it?
Supreme Madness is when he took Thor's
Oh yeah,
hammer.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Whoever the artist was on that,
Yeah,
I,
yeah, that was
I can't
great.
remember offhand, but he was actually, I liked him when he drew Supreme because he gave us kind of like this edgy badass. His cape was always like big and flowing and stuff. But I'd say that was another book that I thought was kind of a little bit weak compared.
Wait. Are you talking about the guy that was like a McFarlane ripoff? Petty? That guy's a cunt. If you're talking about Petty,
Mm.
that guy's a piece of shit.
Wow, that's some strong words. I don't know. I'd have to look it up. I'm honestly not sure. The only reason I remember it is because they had Pitt cross over for 2 issues in Supreme Madness. I think it was Supreme
Yeah,
18.
okay, he didn't draw that one. All right, yeah,
Okay, it's that artist
yeah.
that I really liked. So I'll say that, and specifically just that artist I really liked. I can't remember his name offhand, but I thought he did good on that. He drew Pitt really cool. He drew Supreme cool. That was a fun 2 issue book.
Yeah, that wasn't Petty. I know Todd Mark did an ad for it. I don't know if he. I gotta go back. I'm losing my mind.
All right. Well, what was the strongest book of early Image or series?
What was that?
I said, what was the strongest book of early Image?
Oh, the strongest. Oh my god, that's like I'm not even a parent. And that's kind of like picking your own kid, which one you like the best.
Yeah, it's a good
Because like
question.
one day I'll be like, oh my god. Well, maybe I do. I just don't know. Uh, like one day I'll be like, oh my god, Spawn 1 to 3 was awesome. But man, that miniseries, The Savage Dragon, that is some fun fights. Like or like Wildcats 2 having the Wetworks preview in it in the back. I'm like, I need more of that. But I don't know. I think it's like picking the kid. Like I always pick, maybe only say Homer, if that's what they call him, but that's what it is. That's probably it. And especially when they did the remastered version, like the recolors,
Yeah.
that dude was awesome. Do I have it around? Because I just talked about it on Best Friends show. You can put it away. No about you.
Well,
What's the ones you're like, ah?
as much as I loved the all the Founders books, I thought the strongest Image book when it hit, and I don't care about sales or anything like that, but was Pitt #1. There was something for me
Oh,
personally.
yeah.
Pitt #1 was Dale Keogh's
Yeah.
coming out party because he came off as Incredible Hulk and then just went into Pitt where he's inking himself, and it was just that book is still I'll still read that book to this day and just marvel at the art. And
Just
that character
raw.
was
It's raw.
Yeah, raw energy,
Yeah.
really heavy black inks, um, and the character design. Pitt is an awesome character. I wish they had done more with that character. I wish they would
It's a
come back and
great
do more.
character.
Yeah, absolutely. He's probably one of my favorite Image characters to this day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I feel like my
I
internet
think
is
we're
messing
running
up
in at
here.
the 55 mark, and we have
Yep. Having some technical difficulties,
yeah.
but we're going to work
But
this
you know
all
what?
out.
Great solid 2.5.
Yes, I think this one might
Mm-hmm,
work.
mm-hmm,
This might
mm-hmm.
stick. You
I
out
like
there
it.
might actually see this. Keep your fingers crossed. We're going to find out. So, all right. Well, this
Yeah.
is
Or you'll hear it.
Sean.
But
Where can we find your work? Did you hear
you
me?
can find me at Sean Ahrendt on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Yeah. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Sean Ahrendt. Okay.
Boom. There it is. Got the poster and
Don't,
everything. Or got the banner poster. What the fuck
yeah,
am I
don't
talking
mind that. Yeah, don't mind Slender Man with wings.
about?
Joe, where do we find you?
Yeah, all the social media sites, Facebook, Twitter, the Instagram, YouTube. I'm on ArtStation and all that stuff. Just type in Joe M. Sonntag to Google and you're gonna find me there. Please give us a like and a subscribe to both of our channels. We both have YouTube channels. Mine's just under Joe M. Sonntag. Do you have a channel name or is it Sean Aaron?
I'm gonna be changing mine. I'm gonna get a I'm gonna get a new channel because I want to start over. It's gonna be under Imaginary Tales Entertainment. So by the time we get to my turn to post it on my link, I'll have that
Yeah,
set up because I want to start over fresh and funky.
absolutely. Fresh and
I
funky
think
is
all my
where.
followers on my other channel are bots and they don't care.
Well, yeah, who knows?
Word.
But all right, yeah. So check us out, give us likes, help us out with all that. Give this video a like because apparently that helps the algorithms of YouTube and all that good stuff. So until next time when we have our special guest on, which do you want to say who it is?
Yeah, hopefully if we get everything situated, Raymond Leonard. Uh, he has his own book called Agent Solo. He's an illustrator out of the Chicago-based area. Awesome dude, good friend, very talented. And in the beginning of the show, he shot me a message saying, "Yo, I thought I didn't want to screw this up because I'm on my phone." So I'm like, hit him up, like, "Nah, brother, like, we'll make it happen. We'll make it happen." So next week, hopefully, we'll have Raymond with us with the topic of discussion that Joe and I are personally going through with creating our characters, and Ray's great for that. So until then, we will see you next Friday.
All right, everybody. We will talk to you later. And this has been the
Art and stuff.
show. Thank you for everybody checking this out. We will see you next week. Peace.